when you stop and look at Israel today, folks, you just have to, even if you don't believe the Bible, you just have to wonder, how does this make sense? Folks, the nation of Israel is about the size of New Jersey, okay? It has about 7 million Jews living there. That's about half the population of the state of Florida. I mean, when you look at it, they are so small. But you know, and I know, they are the X on the map of the world. There's no place in the world that gets more attention, that seems to have something different and very unique about them than any other country, any other ethnic nation than the state of Israel. And you have to ask your question, why? It's because God made a covenant with them. God said, I will be your God. You will be my people. And there's only about 13 million Jews worldwide today. Out of that, about 5 million of them live in America. I want you to know there is a connection between America and Israel today. Not only through ethnic and a religious basis, I want you to know that it appears like America and Israel are on the same page in a lot of ways. So what does the Bible say? Look at this in Deuteronomy 7. Somebody would ask this question, well, why would God choose the Jews? Good question. Legitimate question. But let me just throw it back in our laps. For those of us who are believers, why would he choose us? It's because he's God. He's got a right to do whatever he wants to do. And he has a plan. And part of the plan, whether we like it or not, is the Jews are his chosen people. But just like he chose them, he chose us. So we're kind of in the same boat. But look at what Deuteronomy says. For you are a holy people belonging to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be his own possession out of all peoples on the face of the earth. The Lord was devoted to you and chose you. Look at this. Not because you are more numerous than all people, for you were the fewest of all peoples, but because the Lord loved you and kept an oath he swore to your fathers, talking about Abraham. He brought you out with a strong hand and redeemed you from the place of slavery, from the power of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Now that Yahweh, your God, is God, the faithful God who keeps his gracious covenant and loyalty for thousands generations to those who love him and keep his commands. The Bible says specifically, God has called the Jews, set them aside, if you will. He has a covenant agreement. It's not because of their number. And by the way, listen, it has nothing to do with their intelligence. It has nothing to do with them being more righteous. It has nothing to do with them just being better. In fact, when you look at Deuteronomy chapter 9 and you read those verses, it says that they were stiff-necked, they're stubborn, they're rebellious. Does that sound like anybody you know? Sounds like most of us, doesn't it? So there's no way that, for you to just say, well, there has to be something in their makeup. No. God just chose them. He made a covenant with them. Genesis 15 talks a little bit about the promise of the land. It says here, on that day the Lord made a covenant, in Genesis 15:18, on that day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, I give you this land to your offspring from the brook of Egypt to the Euphrates rivers. And then it talks about all those countries that I can't pronounce, so we're not going to do that, okay? Then in Genesis 17, he expands on that. Look at this. I will keep my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generation as an everlasting covenant to be your God and the God of your offspring after you. And to you and to your offspring after you I will give the land, now here's the key, where you are residing, and look at this word, all the land of Canaan, as an eternal possession. I will be their God. Now, when you look at that word all, and you look at the nation of Israel today, which is just a little piece of property, there has to be more to the story, right? Either God made a mistake or there's more to the story. And the Bible just told us there's more to come. Because there's coming a day when Israel will rule the promised land. You say, well, where's the promised land? That includes Egypt. That includes Saudi Arabia. That includes Lebanon. That includes Jordan. That includes Iraq. And so you have to know that there's more to the story. And so as we continue to look at these verses and we begin to realize, because you say, well, what happened to the Jewish nation? I'll tell you, there's just one word, folks. It's the same thing that's happened to us. It is the word sin. God said to them, if you will obey my commandments, I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to give you all my promises. I will do everything I promised to do. But you know what Moses told them in the book of Exodus? Listen, if you choose to walk away from your God, if you choose to serve somebody else, if you choose idolatry, then you're going to pay a tremendous price for your disobedience. And for about 4,000 years, the Jews have been paying that price. And folks, until 1948, literally, the Jews have been scattered to the four parts of the earth, the four corners of the earth. 1948, all that changed. Because all of a sudden the Jews started coming back to their homeland. That's why that's such a significant date. And in 1948, they declared that they once again would be a nation. They would be a nation under God. And the world acknowledges that now. The United States of America acknowledges that today. There's just a real problem today with those who are of the Muslim, Palestinian faith. They refuse to acknowledge Israel today. And we're going to talk about that and why that's such an issue today and why that is part of the conflict in the Middle East. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, this is what it says. And the Lord will scatter you from among all the peoples from one end of the earth to the other. And there you will worship other gods of wood and stone. So God predicted that they would leave him, and they did. And to this day, listen to this day, for most Jews, there's still a blindness there. They still don't get the complete picture. And we'll explain more about that and all that means and why that means so much to those of us who are a part of the church today. But they left in AD 70. For those of you who study history, Titus, the Roman emperor, came in and destroyed Jerusalem, just leveled it. But you know that now they have rebuilt Jerusalem. And Jerusalem plays such a vital role in the end days. And so everything is coming together. 1948, the clock began to click. Have you ever wondered what is the real issue over there in the Middle East? I'll tell you, folks, it's over the land. It's over the land. The Palestinians, the Muslims they believe in Abraham just like the Jews believe in Abraham. But they believe that one of Abraham's sons belongs to their faith. And they believe they have just as much right, in fact, more right than the Jews do to the land of Jerusalem. For 4,000 years, they have been fighting over that piece of land. And the reason we can't understand it is because it is a holy war. This is not about just drawing a line and people living peace. This is about religion. This is about God. This is about what God has destined for that piece of property. And there's conflict. And we may get a peace agreement, but I'm just going to tell you, I have to be honest with you, it's not going to last. It's not going to last. And there's nothing wrong with praying for peace, and there's nothing wrong with hoping for peace, but it's just not going to last. Hasn't worked in 4,000 years, and it will not last until Jesus comes back to this earth. Okay, today we've talked about the covenant agreement with Israel. Let's look at the second point. And boy, I got to move. This is about the crude awakening, and that is talking about oil. And that was kind of on the minds of most Americans, 6 months ago, wasn't it? I mean, what is this?